Microphone's along. Hello.
Because I just had this open.
Okay, there we go. Oh, that's good. You can see that's it.
I think you should have. That's better, right? Because it's okay.
Miss, you can't see me. Yeah, but that's not a window. Other way, one way. Don't need to do it. That move?
What?
Is it the light in mind?
That's
better, right?
Are you guys ready?
Yes.
Okay, anytime. We're ready too.
Okay. We can't see your video, Dr. Jack. Is that the way it's supposed to be, or?
Well, only because I wanted to be able to read your slides, so but I can put it back on.
Wouldn't you like to present to him? No?
I'm good. I'm here.
Perfect. Great. Just 1 second. Sorry, just let me click this so that the volume is different. Okay, we're good.
Okay, so we're gonna start. So hello everyone, welcome to our presentation of our clothing line, Origin, unique and diverse. So first of all, my name is Joachim Shodin. I'm from Oslo, Norway, and throughout this project, I was a logo designer. I focused on the PowerPoint, and I was assessing competition, and I did the customer research. And as skills, I'm creative, good with technology, and research.
Hi, my name is Omar Zaloul, and I'm from Chef Egypt. And what I did for this team is advertisement, marketing mix, and financial highlights. And the skills I'm good at are presenting and imagination.
So when we first looked at the fashion industry, we saw that there were many problems. One of the main ones was that there was a lack of unique design. And as well, we thought that there was not enough thought and meaning into the designs. By this, we basically mean that there's no message behind their designs. And as well, material nowadays is too common, and top quality clothing is too expensive.
And for the solutions, we thought that it would be better if we create attractive designs that the customers would like. And each design would have a meaning behind it, like a historic meaning, as that's what our brand is set on. And for the quality we wanted to use is like quality that was predominantly used like back then in that era of the design we chose. And we also want to make it affordable and top quality.
So value proposition. These are some of the services and policies that we're going to be offering to our customers. So 24-hour online communication services. This is going to be done on our website or as well on phone. And nowadays it's very common for fashion companies to have return policies of up to 2 weeks. However, we want to have a better relationship with customers and make sure that they feel more privileged when they're shopping at Origin. So we're going to extend that to 3 months. And as well, we're going to have a kind and friendly experience for the customers at the store. By doing this, we're going to ensure that all of our employees are well trained. And the pain points for the customers are that there's a lack of design and meaning in the previous clothing that they're wearing. And as well, unfriendly return policies. And usually when they go to the stores, employees are generally not that trained and they're rude. And designer clothing is generally too expensive. And for the customer gains, when wearing our clothing, it's going to have unique designs and material, and Origin is going to have a friendly relationship with their customers, and the price is fair, so it's good for everyone. So this is a competition. Here you can see that we have it from cheap to expensive, low availability to high availability. Here we have many common, well-known shops such as Louis Vuitton, Gucci, Philippe Klein, and here where it's more low availability, we have Supreme. This is because they release a certain amount of items at once, and they're not too expensive. This is one of the reasons for why they're so popular. And here we have H&M and Zara with a lot more higher availability. This is due to H&M having 4,200 shops worldwide, whereas Zara has 3,500. And this is why we aim to have origin right in the middle. This is going to allow, this is going to be suitable for the majority of our customers, as it's not going to be too cheap, nor expensive, and the availability is going to be just right.
So the customer research to the surveys, we had 4 main core assumptions, and they were majority of people would find historic designs appealing, and they would actually wear clothes that have meaning behind them.
And basically, when we sent out our surveys, we found out that 70.5% of people do find historic designs appealing.
And then the second one was certain return policies affect people when they shop, and it's not really it's the point that they really focus on when they buy something online.
And from our survey, we found out the majority of people said that this does affect them, usually when they're purchasing gifts and presents for friends and family.
And then brand has a strong impact on what a person wears and what they how they want to be seen by the rest and what they're wearing.
And this is because the majority of society we live in nowadays is materialistic, and this would be one of the key problems when launching Origin, as we're now a very well-known brand, which we will achieve through advertisement, which Omar will talk about later.
And then people would wear diverse material and want to seen by others and noticed by how different they look.
And this is because it is normal for people to seek attention from others due to what they're wearing.
So the marketing mix will focus on the 4 P's: product, promotion, price, and place. So our product will be clothing line is focused on having, again, a fashion theme that is based on history and patterns back then. And promotion will first start using social media, like our friends giving us shout outs and families and friends as well. They're describing the product to other people they know. And price, the prices for products will range between $100 and $150 maybe. And then if we get successful after the launch, we'll increase the price and the products as well. And the place, so currently we're like focusing on starting an Instagram page and maybe starting a pop-up shop or even opening a shop soon. So for advertisements, as I said, use advertisement panels on Instagram and on Twitter. Pay local influencers to show our products to their audience, such as like in this region here, in this country, Max Arabia and Bin Baz and others. Friends and family, again, giving free shout-outs and describing our business to others. Then these were like the main financial highlights we really noticed. So the rent, in case we are we want to have a shop open, will cost between $400 just renting, and production costs, because we want a high quality brand with unique designs. It'll be $500. Legal fees to starting up the company and registering in the government here and everything costs about $100. Labor to build the shop and design is $60, and then advertisement, it's about $2 per engagement on Twitter and $5 per day on Instagram. So we're not sure how much it will cost, but approximately the total will cost about $1,300. And then these are the expected amounts of products we will sell and the amounts of money we'll make. However, in the first month we were in the first month maybe it'd be we would get support from the people we know and everything, and that'll decline a bit. However, it will then after the 6 months it'll increase, because we will release new lines hopefully and all that. And then on the 9th month as well, we will release even more products and have more products in our line, so it'll be higher.
And these are basically our main steps. So the first thing we're going to have to do is finding out where the clothing is going to be produced. This will of course be abroad, and we would have to find the cheapest place so that we can maximize our profit.
And then we'll try and create designs for the clothing and show the meaning behind them.
And through social media platforms, we're going to create accounts for Origin so that we can basically launch our advertisements. Yeah. Thank you for listening.
So a couple of things. So first of all, let me just comment right off the bat and just say that you guys have kicked off our presentations in the most excellent way. So congratulations, and thanks for setting the tone for our presentation day. A really nice job. Really, really good. You should be proud of yourselves. Before Dan and I sort of throw out some questions or comments, how about folks in the class? Do you guys have any questions for the team here?
Have you guys researched any You talked about, say, for example, pop-up shops, or maybe even like a proper retail store. If you take pop-up shops, for example, do you guys know any areas in which will allow a pop-up shop?
So like there's a place in Dubai called Seoul DXB, where like it supports new like brands and pop-up shops as well. And maybe so like there are some events that are happening soon in Abu Dhabi, and Expo as well coming up soon.
For as well, we're also considering like renting some places or renting rooms where we could potentially have a small shop for yeah. Okay. Anybody else?
Other questions?
That's all the questions from the past.
Okay, Dan, you wanna?
So first of all, I think you guys did a great job.
Can they hear you?
Brought us up. Yep. Can you hear me, Jack? Fine. You brought us on this roadmap, and I do have some questions. The amount of product that you are tending to produce, how many different varieties? Is it shirts? How many different styles and what products are you thinking of producing?
Well, I mean, this varies as, like, for example, take clothing companies now. They have different seasons where they release a certain amount of shirts and different new designs every single season. But starting off, we would have roughly around 10 different types of shirts and 10 different types of pants starting in the summer collection.
Okay. The issue that you're going to have is a low production number increases your cost per unit. So when you go to produce all of this product, wherever you find your low cost production facility, they normally use in the thousands when they make a product. 1,000 of this shirt and this size, this size, and this size. So I like the idea of the pop-up shop. I think you may have to start looking at a lower run production house close by, which will increase your costs. But this is what you do through lean innovation to find out if people like your designs, like your products. So just anticipate your startup costs are going to be significantly higher early on. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. So yeah, I have some questions. So first of all, on the customer research, I like the way you presented it. How many people actually filled out surveys?
We have 45.
Wow, that's pretty impressive. So just as a note, you should probably always put the sample size on a slide, like when you give results.
Yeah, we screenshotted them, but then we weren't sure if we were going to include that or we could send them to you.
Yeah, no, it's just even just something very simple on the slide itself. You explain. You had the. So 12 to 70-year-olds who were interested in fashion. So yeah, some breakdown of the data might have been helpful. What did you have, like one parent do fill out a survey? It's funny.
Yeah.
So that's all right.
The average.
Secondly, I think the financials, good start. I understand on the advertising, you kind of figured out how much. Potentially how much the cost would be for the two social media that we're going to use. But did you think about how many clicks you would need to actually reach the 150 sales mark, for example? Did you think through that at all?
Well, right now we're mainly relying on the shout outs that we're going to get, and the clicks as well. Like, you get a lot of people in this region on social media, so it's a really powerful tool to reach out to others.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I agree. So I think just to keep in mind, so one of the things, like when you were thinking about your unit sort of sales, if you will, is you always want to go back and say to yourself, how does that 150 units sort of align with your marketing strategy, right? So you had three strategies, right, if I'm not mistaken, right? So you were gonna have advertising in Instagram and Twitter, right? So you're gonna pay for that. So some percentage of the 150 is gonna come from that. some may come from, you know, the influencers, right? And finally, you know, some, you know, would come from sort of that networking of your friends and family, right? So, but you have to have a rationale. So like how much, you don't have to answer this. All I'm saying is when you think about these things, you have to say to yourself, we're going to have 150 units because we're going to drive so many through social media. We're going to drive so many through influencers and so many through the friends and family network, right? And that's the way. And then you kind of know how much each thing's going to cost. So that helps sort of rationalize your financials, right? And then finally on the financials, I guess, I think that you know, I'm assuming that the difference in the amounts of the units is seasonality. Is that correct? How did you think? Why is it 150 month one, then 100 month two, then 120? You know, and then the month 5 was 100 again. What's the rationale?
So what we thought about, so in the beginning, we thought that maybe like the friends would give us a boost in the beginning, you know, to like help us start the business and stuff. And then for a while it would drop for a bit because it's out of the height, if you can say. But then after that it will increase again because usually in the 6 months, which is like summer and this year, people will really like buy new clothes for summer here because it's extremely hot and like you just buy new stuff here. And then when it comes to like autumn winter collection, people here actually love to wear winter clothes because it's extremely rare when you have to wear them. So they just like buy everything like long sleeve pretty much, or like heavy to wear here. So like that's why I thought that maybe like around September or like maybe even October the sales will increase.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. No, I get it. That's, you know, it's really, I applaud, you know, you're applying this whole idea of seasonality to your financials. It's very, very important. Yeah, and I understand. Well, you guys did a great job, and yeah, why don't we everybody give another round of applause, and we'll go, Mayank, we'll go to the next one. Thank you. I like the name.
Bailey, if you could come and. Yep.
Bailey's next.
Yep.
Almost there. Oh, not there. Title.
Yeah. Hi, my name is Bailey Head, and my product and my presentation will be about my company called Title. So the team. So I'm a sole entrepreneur here, and so therefore I was head of research, head of finances, with anticipating our financial growth and how much each sort of area of my product will be and how much it will cost. Head of marketing, I came up with the slogan that you'll be seeing throughout the presentation and the different ways in which we want to present our product to the people and to the market. I'm also head of design, so the logo that you saw before was all purely done by myself. So the opportunity. Being from Australia, we're obviously we love our surf, we got a lot of surf, we got a lot of beaches, and it's very an outdoor country. However, people work way too hard during their day jobs to spend so much money on products that they might use a few times a year, once a week, or even just a few times a month. Therefore, I wanted to create a product that was, one, reliable and safe. As you know, as Australia doesn't actually have an ozone layer over it due to global warming crises, therefore the sun UV rays are extremely harmful compared to countries like the UAE or anywhere else in the world, really. So therefore, I saw companies like Rip Curl, like Billabong, and like Quicksilver sort of exploiting people in a way, because they are the big and established companies on the market. Therefore, they were able to sell their products at a higher price than usual, and people really didn't have any other option to buy them because that was what they needed to have. Therefore, my value proposition was that I wanted to create cheap and affordable swimwear for people that really do work way too hard. Maybe they don't go to the beach every single day or every single week because they have jobs, they have families, and they have different sort of things they have to do. Therefore, if they spend on a product that's obviously way too much expense, they're just spending money on things that they could have spent money elsewhere on. So my target customer. My target customer were people between 14 to 45. And this is because for a number of reasons. This is due to the fact that these people are more likely to have, say, a more disposable income due to the fact that, one, they work, and two, they have outside hobbies, therefore they want to spend their money on things they actually use. Also, these are the type of people that usually would go to the beach, would go to the pool, say with their families, with their friends, or alone, just to enjoy some time outside of the more stressful things in life. So my customer segment. Now I looked at the demographics within Australia because that's where I really want to base my sort of product to begin with, and then maybe branch out to countries like the UAE. So for the ethnicity, I looked at Australia, and obviously being from Australia, you do see people from different countries sort of mingling with each other. So we have a number of different sort of religions that do go to the beach, that do spend time outside and do hang out with each other. So the main sort of religious ethnic we see in Australia would be majority 52% Christian, 30% say they don't have a religion or didn't answer the question, and 5% are Muslim, and then the rest is other. I also looked at the age demographics in Australia where I could get my target customers, and 18% are 0 to 14 years old, while 52% are 15 to 54 years old. Therefore, that's how I got my age demographics, because those people are the sort of people that will buy my product. I also looked at how often do you go to the beach, and that was come up within my survey. And so hardly anybody said ever. I think I only got 1 or 2% that said they've never been to the beach. Most of my people that answered my survey said 50% of people actually said that they often go to the beach, and 42% said that they sometimes go to the beach. So therefore, there is actually a large sort of target market which I can sort of promote my product to. So my marketing mix. As I said earlier, I wanted my product to be 1, safe, 2, reliable, and 3, quite fashionable to wear, and they're quite affordable as well. For my promotion, I really thought about how I would do this, and I thought now we're in day and age, 2018, where social media is very, very sort of inspires a lot of people, and a lot of people use it. I do most of my promotion on social media like Facebook, Instagram, and Snapchat. The place. For people when they buy my product, I thought about having a retail store, and I thought about having a pop-up store like the boys before me did. And I thought that's going to cost, as my startup cost, that's going to cost quite a lot of money. And I want to keep my startup cost as low as possible, but keep my product quite high. And therefore, I came up with the idea of sort of online shopping, as I know a lot of people have started to do that nowadays, and the internet has become a lot more online shopping friendly. Therefore, my product will be sold online, where you can get different sizes, different designs, and people can sort of see what they want, and it really will take less than 5 minutes. And the price, as I said before, places like companies like Rip Curl, Quicksilver sell theirs quite high. Due to my sort of product costs, how much it will cost to make, I want to make it cheaper and more affordable than the big companies. So my competitive positioning. So I looked at high quality, low price, and and high price. If you look at the big company like Rip Curl, it's in the middle of really, it's highly priced, but underlying of good quality as well. Even though it is the biggest in the world, people keep on having to buy new stuff. One, because they wear it so much, it's wear and tear. And two, sometimes it just doesn't fit that well. I want my company is based just above the middle, where it's closer to high price and high quality. Therefore, people will be more willing to buy my product because they actually see this and they understand this. And if they compare it to companies like O'Neill, like Quicksilver, like Rip Curl, they'll see that it's actually good value for money. So marketing. As I said before, a lot of people use social media. In Australia, it's estimated that 7.7 million aged between 13 and above use Instagram in Australia. 7.7 million is a lot of target customers. Around 15 million Facebook users and 4 million daily Snapchat users. If I can promote my product on these, it will get a large outreach where a lot of people see my product. And so my customer acquisition will be through business accounts and social media like those three I've mentioned. So my slogan, how I talked about before, I really thought about this. I wanted my slogan to be really what my ethos of my company is about. As I said before, people really, really work hard and they want to enjoy the finer things in life. They don't want to be spending extra money on things like Rash Fest when they can spend it on holidays, on maybe their kids' future. So I really thought about this, and the slogan I've come up with, life's better when you really live it. Obviously, money is a major factor nowadays. The more money you have, the more life you can, the finer things in life you can really have. If these people want to spend on my product, they'll have more money, but they can really live life to the fullest. So during my surveys, which I sent out, I had a look at the validations and invalidations for my product. So if I start with the validations, survey responses show that a lot of people want products like mine. One, because other companies cost a lot more, and two, because it's new. People like new stuff. The age and sex demographics show that there is a large market for my product, as I showed with the social media and with the age demographics. And in Australia, there's a large culture boom where people want to go to the beach and people are going to the pool now because people have more time for hobby and because leisure time has increased due to new technology and different ways and like flexible work hours, for example. And so and then I had a look at the invalidations, which is obviously very important as well. I said some people really don't like to go to the beach or the pool, even outside for that matter. Of course they do. We have outside people, we have inside people. Everybody has their own sort of factors. But then these people aren't going to stay inside and sometimes may go to the pool, may go to the beach. Therefore, they're not going to spend money on Rip Curl, for example, which might rip them off in a way. But they're more likely to spend on a product like mine, where they can spend less and have to use it less as well if they want to. And also, some people are very materialistic and will like to stick to products like ones that Rip Curl produce. One, because it is an established brand and that's what they're used to. People don't necessarily always like change. So one of the obviously major factors about a startup business and any business in general is the finance. Now, for my product Rash Vest, with some research, I figured out that it would be $5 to $10 per unit. And the day need would be before the product launch, where I can sell it off for the product thing. And then I talked about my marketing campaign on social media, and I figured out that it costs between 20 cents and $2 per advertisement on places like Facebook and Snapchat and Instagram. So even though that isn't necessarily quite high, it's not necessarily quite low at the same time. So if we can really use those advertisement places to the fullest, be very beneficial. And starting a business page on social media is very beneficial. But one reason is it's free. You can do whatever you like with it, and it doesn't increase your startup costs or your overheads. So then I looked at my first 6 months in business. Unlike the boys did, I predicted and anticipated my sales growth. So in the first month, I predicted 100 sales. Month 2, 110. Month 3, 150, which is really at the highest within the first 6 months. Month 4, 90. Month 5, 85. Month 6, 80. And talking about month 3 where it's the highest and it goes sort of high then drops down is because of the seasonal things. If you buy a product, a surf product like mine in the winter, it's obviously going to be a bit cheaper because it's not in the summer, there's not as high as the demand for it. Therefore, sales growth should increase. And because we're looking to sell our products in Australia, the seasons are sort of backwards. And so December's summertime. And so our summertime here and in America is actually our winter time. So therefore, sales growth should increase due to the fact that it will be a bit cheaper. So then if I'm looking to sell my product at about $20 per unit, while a Rip Curl one could age between $25 to $50 and maybe even more. So my total sales in the first 6 months have produced 615 sales, equaling to a total profit gain of $6,150. So my next steps after my business launch. Because I feel so strongly with my product, I obviously want to keep going with it. I've been talking to some potential investors, and they seem very willing and seem very sort of interested in investing in my product, which will help obviously its startup costs and its launch, which should increase its sales and its profit. I'm also interested after its sale launch, depending if it's successful, to expand into not just the UAE, and where I can sell to different customers, a different target market, but I'm looking to expand into different sort of clothes, like hoodies, like board shorts, and like t-shirts. Therefore, give my customers a wider range of sort of products to use. Therefore, that should mean that I will get more repeat customers. And with the new products, it may even mean I get new customers as well. Thank you for listening to my presentation.
That's excellent, Bailey. No surprise here. So, how about let's get questions first from the class. Questions.
So, about how much would you sell your products?
So I'm looking to sell my product for around $20. Therefore, because of my product cost, production cost will be between $5 and $10. Therefore, I will gain a good profit, but also it's affordable for my customers, whereas my competitors like Rip Curl do sell from their similar products from around $25 to $50.
Right, but let's say if you want to promote your products, you're focusing on Australia first, right?
Yes.
How would you get it? How would you promote it there? Like most of, I guess, like your followers on like Instagram, like Facebook, or UAE based.
So my family's I've actually got a great uncle that's in the Surfing Hall of Fame, and so if my products are based in Australia, you're able to. There's obviously ways of shipping, and if I put my products into Australia, some of my family members I've been talking to have also seemed very interested, hence the investors part, and they seem like they want to help me with the product. So therefore, if I do have customers in Australia, that's where it's predominantly based, that I can sell it there. But even if I have customers here, I'll have a stock here where I'm able to sell. So I'm able to sell to a different target market, to a different market, just not as priority based here.
Right, so you would just like kind of ask your great uncle to like promote it for you, right?
My great uncle, my aunt, stuff, people like that.
Okay. Dan?
Yep. Good job, Bailey. I learned a lot about your business. Some things that you brought to my attention, was, for example, the lack of an ozone layer, in Australia due to global warming. So I'm sure people in Australia are more aware of the issues of coverage, especially at the beach, at the pool. So I thought that was a big point for me that you may want to consider in your marketing. In your target customers, I would like to have you give us a deeper dive about who this person is. It men and is it women? Who you're gonna, who is the smallest circle that you're gonna go after, right? I just need to define that target market a little bit better. I want to make sure that you accomplish what you want to do. So get a little deeper onto the target customer. In your marketing mix, I really, I'm struggling to understand what is the number one reason I should buy your product, for that target segment. Is it the ozone? Is it because of rash? Is it comfort? Is it fashion? I know you're providing all four of those points, but if I go to the pool, I don't think I'm going to be worrying about a rash. So looking at where people are going to be wearing and using your product, I want to make sure that you're using your marketing money effectively to make sure the number one reason people should buy is this, then this, depending on the segment. Okay. Let me go down here. Oh, on the finance, I have some questions here because I think we did the hummus presentation with you, right?
The hummus.
Yeah, we talked about bringing a product to market, and one of the things I want you to rationale here is you have a cost of production, getting it to you. Now you have all of these marketing fees, and you have logistics. And I'm very concerned here. You did not anticipate exactly what the cost is of shipping this product to your customer. When you sell online these days, Bailey, the expectation and the amount of sales you get because you offer free shipping is significant. It's one of the number one drivers for people to buy an online product, is that if they spend X amount of money, they'll get the shipping free or it's reduced, whatever. So I'm not sure if you considered what the shipping expense is going to be, but a lot of times it's a lot more than what you think it is. So I'm concerned about you going to market with a retail price of $20. I actually think you're too low, that you don't have enough of your expenses covered in there. And on the marketing campaign, you're absolutely straight on with using social media to do this. But for example, how many impressions do you need in order to sell 1,000 units? And in digital media, that might mean you need to see 1 million people, and your price can go from 20 cents to $2, but you got to remember how many impressions are you going to put out there and in order to sell 1,000 units. So if it's 50 cents and you got to put out there 200,000 impressions, that's $100,000. So again, define the math here and do more of a bottom up, all right? And I think, I like where you're going, and, I love that you've talked to other people about your concept and your idea. Now I want you to do is refine it and go a little bit deeper now. You've learned a lot through this course. Now continue to ask yourself some questions and build upon it, okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so Bailey, just finally, because I know we need to move on, but yeah, also, as I said, it was a great job, very, very thoughtful. I don't know, did we lose you? Can you hear me at least?
No.
You can or no?
I can hear you.
You can, okay, good. All right, we can't see you right now. But anyway, so so one of the things was interesting, throughout the whole process, you've sort of thought about the idea of having the materials that protects you from the sun and the climate as a very, very critical piece of what you were doing. And then, it's not even just from the marketing perspective, but even like just in the way you thought about the competition. So for example, I would have, when you looked at your competitive positioning, instead of just quality, which certainly is a reasonable thing, and maybe it was proxy, a proxy statement for protection, but I would have said low protection versus high protection, right? And maybe that's one of the main drivers of your competitive positioning is around.
Could be a big advantage.
Could create an advantage. And just to sort of take that a step further, and I'm moving into Dan's territory, which is really not good for anybody. But I was thinking, if you really push that, you could maybe partner with companies that are promoting suntan lotion, and you could have little giveaways of a shirt and get some free suntan lotion to go with it or something, or there's all kinds of ways you could have, kind of messaged that in a sense to make you very different from these other competitors. I mean, your pricing is not going to be that different, right? So you're going to be on a little higher end of the pricing in a sense, right? You're certainly not going the cheap route, which is, I agree, you shouldn't. But I think you wanted to focus on that. So that's number one. Does that make sense to you?
Makes sense, yes.
Okay. And then the last thing I'll just say for now, I mean, there's always lots of things we could talk about, but definitely that's correct. So what you did, two things on your finance, and I'm really just talking about, so what you did, and you probably should have shown it even, is, basically you have sales of X, all right, which would give you, so many dollars, and then you take away the cost of goods sold, which in your case was, let's say it was $10, right, for every piece, and then you would have had, then you should have put the shipping cost as part of the cost of goods sold, I believe, and then the final piece, just to keep in mind, is that's not total profit. That's really not the way I would probably say you should call it gross profit, so people understand that you haven't taken away all the administrative costs yet. Okay?
Okay.
I mean, I think we knew what you were thinking about, but based on the numbers. But I think that would have made everything a little clearer, and that would have been perfect. That would have been a great way to display all this, actually. So, anyway, great job, and yeah, we look forward to you making progress, and we want to follow up on everybody here. So hopefully you're all going to be doing something with this stuff. But that's great, Bailey. We look forward to, buying a T-shirt one day. All right. So let's, Mayank, let's move to the next one, please.
Yep. So Maria, can you please come? Mariam, you're next after Maria, so be ready.
Hey, go for it.
Okay, so my business venture is called Nature Cake, and our goal is to make your business more profitable.
Always a good thing.
So I found that my pain points are that staff in majority of restaurants have limited knowledge on dietary requirements. So that includes like allergies such as lactose, nuts, and different things. And restaurants often can't cater to people's different needs. So that leads to a loss of customers and revenue in the long term because they can't cater to their needs. So my value proposition is a fortnightly program that occurs like in an auditorium where a business, which would be a restaurant, can sign up for and attend, and just gives overviews of common allergies and possible like ideas for ways to modify or help people in those situations. And what I might move on to do is private consulting, where a specific restaurant would come to us and ask for help. So we'd go over their menu or like how they already cope with such things, and move on from there. So unlike the other ventures, mine's a B2B consumer. So I found that it was quite difficult to get customer research. So I actually physically went to different restaurants and kind of got a feel for it myself. And towards the end, I asked them if they would be interested in such a product. And from the restaurants I visited, 60% said that they would be interested. And I also looked at data about the UAE, which would be where my target segment would be. And common allergies include milk, lactose, nuts, gluten, and vegetarian is a lifestyle choice or could be an allergy. And I also talked to a few friends and family that I know deal with allergies and asked them how often they leave or stay, dependent on how if a restaurant can cater for them or not. So around 60% say that they leave, and around 30% say that they stay, and then the rest said that they would stay because they're part of a group instead of leaving and causing a disturbance to everyone else. So I also looked at the ability for the restaurant to cater and their knowledge. So only 2% of the restaurants I visited were able to cater for people who came to them. So when I created my market map, I actually found that there are really very few competitors, and none of them were really relevant to my idea, and just were similar in the sense that they were trying to create more awareness on the topic to promote the idea of catering for people with allergies. And most of them aren't very accessible. So I rated them on the relevance to my venture and the accessibility within the UAE. And most of them are either based in the US or in the UK, which aren't very accessible. So my products would be, as I mentioned earlier, fortnightly events, which would occur every other week, obviously. And it just gives a general idea of, general overview of allergies and examples and advice to all restaurants in the business. And eventually I'd move on to private consulting, which would be of greater cost. So as my company grows, I hope to get there. So when looking at the marketing mix, I found pricing really difficult because I wasn't really sure what prices would be suitable for each of my products. So I did realize that events would since they're not as specialized, they'd be less of a fee, and consulting would be a much higher fee than organizing events, especially since the costs of organizing an event would be lower. And the way that I'd advertise my product would be through websites, going to restaurants specifically, and magazines or local newspapers. And hopefully I would have companies come to me by registering online, where I'd create a website for them to do so, or call in and make appointments or register. So by adding all of the different advertising methods that I could use, it got up to around $900 a year, which is quite high, but unlike business to customer relationships, it's more formal, and social media might not be the most effective way. And then I looked at salaries of people who would be educating about different allergies, so a nutrition educator and consultants, which I would get to in the future. And the average salary for an educator would be $38,000 a year. Then I calculated the cost of the venue, which came to $700 per day. And if I do it fortnightly, it would be 26 weeks. So I multiplied it by 26 and got to $18,200, and per year that would be around $120,000. So I mainly chose this venture because it's really applicable to me and as well as many people I know, and I realized that it's a really big issue within this region. For example, in the U.S., some states have it mandatory that restaurants have at least one item on the menu for people with different allergies. But over here, they often reject you, say they can't serve you. So I was really passionate about fixing this problem. And I also feel like I have interest in making, like I've always been the sort of person who picks out problems with customer service and things like that. And making a solution to that would seem very rewarding. So since this venture is quite would cost a lot of money, I don't currently have that capital, and I do have someone who's willing to invest around $100,000, but that's still not enough. And I don't think I currently have all of the skills to carry out the venture. And also, I would need to decide on the prices of my products, as well as people who I would need, so my employees, including consultants and people to advertise and all of that. That's it.
All right. Okay, very nice. I'm really looking forward to. I have so many thoughts to support this, but let's hear from the class first. Questions?
Do you think you're going to expand into more of a team of people in terms of leadership? Because I know that's hard to lead something like this just by yourself as a student as well. And if so, who do you think would be best?
Yeah, so I do have family members who are interested in the idea, and also since I might have it in different, might eventually have it in different emirates, I might get different leaders for each emirate, or Dubai and Abu Dhabi. Yeah, that's it.
Okay. Dan?
Oh gosh, you've hit on something for me, Maria, that is actually a passionate point for me, and I appreciate your passion in taking on this project, and I think you've got something here. And I'll tell you why. My wife has a disability. She has type 1 diabetes. She's also a vegetarian. So going out to restaurants is also, oh, I forgot, my son has a lactose issue. So for us to go to a restaurant, it's really painful when we try to order, especially for her and the education. I can't tell you how many times, she'll speak to a server and say, okay, I'm a type 1 diabetic and I'm a vegetarian. Oh, we can give you some pasta, which is loaded with carbohydrates, so they really don't know. So I think there's definitely a need for this, and I think you're onto something, that there needs to be a better education. And I just did a quick reference to find out, prevalence of diabetes in UAE, and you've got a million people there that have diabetes. So you do have the market sizing for that type of person, and all those people that also have allergies. One of the market segments I want you to think about, and being here in New York City, I had the pleasure over a number of years ago to work with the city and Mayor Bloomberg, who really brought this city to the forefront with menu labeling and also nutrition by reducing salt content in foods. I actually worked at the Department of Health and created a labeling program for the shelves in supermarkets, to better educate people about the process. So also consider not just private restaurants, but also consider, a quasi-public association where you work with the city, the state, the government on an education model on this as well. So my suggestion is, I love that you said you need to understand this more and to grow your knowledge and to find the right consultants. But you have a model here, Maria, that just needs to refine and package. You have identified your weaknesses. in your knowledge base and getting the right people. So I suggest to you just to continue on with your passion, educate yourself first, and to think about how you could partner and strategize with existing, you know, departments within the government as well, you know, health organizations, et cetera. Okay?
Yeah, so maybe just as a couple final comments. So Maria, first of all, I've seen a lot of people pivot, you know, and change their idea in midstream, and very few pull it together as well as you have. So I appreciate the fact that you came in with one idea and decided to switch, and you really hit upon, you know, a major pain point for a lot of people, and you know, whether the restaurants is the place that will want this, or whether there's other ways to do it. You know, I mean, there's a great need for people to understand this, and so I think, you know, this is the kind of project that could, you know, would be very, very favorable if you pursued it at some level as you start to move towards college. And even in college, right? It's very, very important. I mean, and, you know, I mean, even in school cafeterias, and you know, if you look at, if you didn't even want to start with businesses, but you wanted to partner with nutrition, you know, nutritional, a nutritionist in like a university, for example, and then work with that nutrition to make sure that all the cooks and all the people that are serving the food in the buffets, and everybody understands, and that the labeling is like in the cafeterias, for example, are correct. This is a huge problem that you know, people are not educated in this at all. And just for the example that Dan gave with his own family, and my son has a peanut allergy, by the way, and that is a lifelong you know, vigilance on his part. But I can't tell you how many Asian restaurants he goes to, and then he can't eat because the peanuts are right on top after we told him 100 times no peanuts, right? So, you know, this is a huge issue. So I really hope you pursue it. I hope we can work with you on it. This is serious stuff. Congratulations. Well. All right, Mayank, keep us going here.
Yep. So Mariam, you're next, and make you the presenter. Yep. We can see your screen now.
Awesome. Okay, Mariam, go ahead. Oh, Mayank, we can't hear. Can you hear?
No, Mariam, you have to open your mic. So.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I was saying my venture is logo making, and I called it logo because it sounded catchy with logo and logo, and I just like the sound of that name. And the reason why I chose this venture is because I was always interested to art, and I would always sketch and paint on canvases, but I never had the idea of putting it on a computer and doing art on there. So last summer actually, I did a course in graphic designing, and I was really interested in it. So I was also interested in business. So I wanted to start off my learning in business with something I'm interested in and something I love to do. So the problem and opportunity here is that pupils who aspire to become businessmen and women, they pay too much money for their company logo. Now, I was looking at one of my competitors, and their price before they actually discounted it was $130, which is a lot of money for one simple logo, in my opinion. So my idea here is to make it much cheaper so it's more affordable. And my value proposition is that my company is a logo making company that offers aspiring businessmen or businesswomen a cheaper price in designing and delivering their logos. So I'm going to talk about my competitor now, which is Gulf Logo Design. So I noticed a lot of pros in this competitor because they've been running for years and they're really successful. And I chose a successful competitor because I felt like if I compared my startup to a successful competitor, I can see the differences that I thought of and the differences that they already have now, so I can make it much better. So what I found out was that they charged way too much for their logos, and my goal is to make it cheaper, right? So they have this discount, a 70% discount, and it only had 500 limited spaces, right? So when I checked, it was already 456 people already ordered logos, which is a really big number of people. And I was thinking, I just started and I haven't found one customer yet. So I have to attract customers, which leads me on to marketing and advertising. And I'm going to be focusing on social media because I feel like social media is very influential to people from different age groups. And also, it's a big platform. Like, there are a lot of people on social media. So I feel like it would be a great way to start. And as my company will grow, I'm going to try to advertise it on newspapers, magazines, and radio because you get different age groups from that as well. So my financial statements, I don't have many because all I need to pay for right now is the software, which costs 184.5 dirhams a month, which is $50. And I don't have to. I feel like I don't have to pay that much, but I have to advertise a lot to get customers because logo making is not a very popular, or it's not a business that you hear about a lot. So I need to advertise it a lot in order to get customers. And in 1 year, my overall cost will be 20,214 dirhams, which is a lot, but I have to make it work. So my product. So my company is a company that offers an opportunity to create your desired logo for your business or company for a cheaper price so you can fulfill your needs. And also, I've done some research and asked some people that business men and women find logo designers, the cost they ask for are very expensive. So they try to make it themselves or have connections with people who can make the logos themselves, which was not what they first wanted, but they had to go to that option because it was too expensive, and they felt like if they spent that much money on a logo, they won't have enough for their startup. And my MVP is an online logo designing program focused on fulfilling a business graphic design and graphic designing needs. And my next steps, I want to advertise my company and gain more customers because, like I said before, logo making is not a very popular or a business that you hear about a lot. And I want to make my website much. The reason why I didn't actually send it on here is because I noticed that my website was very poor compared to other logo makers, and I wanted to start all over. So I'll send that in after I finish it. And on my competitors, I had many. I just chose this one in particular. They had like a live employee on the website that can assist you, which I found very interesting and very useful because I was able to ask the person how, like, why did they put the offers and why did it this and why did you reduce the prices and how long the company has been running for, and they assisted me really well, which gave me an idea of doing that as well. But it's a bit difficult because I'm doing this solo and I would need people to do that, so I need to work on that as well. And also, I realized that on my survey, like I mentioned this before in previous classes, but the amount of time I put minimum was about 1 week, which I realized from my competitors was that it was way too much time because my competitors were doing them in 24 hours. So I need to improve the amount of time to make a logo, which will come only after practice. So yeah, thanks for listening.
Oh, no, that's great. So great. Nice job. Everybody's applauding in case you can't hear. So any questions from the class first?
I was just wondering, how are you thinking of advertising besides on social media?
Sorry, I can't hear you.
How are you thinking of advertising over social media?
I was thinking maybe just kind of like advertisements you see on the sides or on the bottom, like when you open your phone and you open Instagram, for example, you see those small advertisements on the bottom, and they do get annoying, but they do get the people using social media's eyes. And if I make it eye-catching, they might be interested. So that's how I was thinking, but maybe if my company progresses, I might make a commercial, I'm not sure.
Okay, Dan?
Yep. Okay. So, Mariam, I have owned a marketing and advertising company back in the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s. So I'm very familiar with this field here, and it's very competitive. And I think one of the things you brought up, and I suggest you absolutely do, when you looked at your competitor and they had the live chat, I think it's very important to have a communication with your client to understand what their business is. So when you do build a brand logo for them, you understand who their customer is and how you're building that brand logo to target their customer. So that's probably a very big deal. And today, what we call in the gig economy, whether you're hiring a copywriter, you're hiring a graphic artist to do a logo or do packaging design, there's a lot of people in this space. And my suggestion to you is the personalization factor is going to separate you from those platforms which have independent freelancers working on them. So not only do you have, Gulf Logo Design as one, you have all these freelance areas such as Upwork, which offer this. They're just a platform where freelancers work off of. So what I find in dealing with those is the personalization and really understanding the client and what you're building for them. I think you need to identify that as one of your advantages you must build upon, okay?
And Mariam, so I've always been a big fan of this. There are so many, even young startups, so for example, that really could use a service like this and need an affordable one. And so I would say to you that one of the things you want to think a little bit more about, and I think it was in one of your earlier slides in Canvas, but is to think about how to segment your customer, and maybe think about, maybe I'll start with I'll look for like high school clubs that are focused on helping people start up either businesses or social enterprises, so social entrepreneurship kind of things. Even some of the people that in this class, and help with designing their start with them, and you'd become very popular very fast because it's a skill that not everybody has. I can tell you now, I couldn't make a logo to save my life. So and even not just businesses, even just for projects, sometimes people want to kind of brand their project in some way, their school project. So I think you're really onto something here, and you should think about what would be the best customer for you to start with, especially based on your age and everything else. I think there's a lot you could do, and you could certainly take this business idea into college as well, and it would be huge. I mean, I can tell you now, if I handed you over to my MBA students, they'd all be wanting to help. So so there's a lot of need. So anyway, great job. Thank you very much. Okay, so
Hashim,
Hashim,
you're
right?
yep. So I made you the presenter, Hashim.
Split up. Deal with it, because you're going to connect. You're right. So you know how to do it. I'll run all this. Make sure you're all right. We should be.
Yeah, hello?
Yeah. Hi,
Yeah,
Hashim.
Hello, Ashim.
yeah, hello. Is the screen clear? Is it there?
Yeah, I can see myself really well. No, that's
There we go.
there we, yeah, we can see it perfectly. Thank you.
Okay. So I'll start right now.
Yep.
My name's Hashim. As you all know, I'll be talking about the time limitations product. Basically, it can control the time limitations of students who are in schools. So why am I passionate? So as a 13-year-old, I can see how students are affected during school by their devices. They really get distracted sometimes. They cheat often, which is really annoying and distracting. So I saw an opportunity, and so the problem is that many schools face this problem. It's a common problem. Students get distracted often by their devices, and they distract other students as well. So to solve this problem, I can like create an app that monitors and controls the time limitations of students by controlling the devices. Main customers would be schools that face this problem, but as I was thinking about it, I noticed there could be other customers, such as individuals and other people who would like to gain more control over their time. So this product actually is very convenient and helps teachers and the school staff. It saves time and effort. It also makes students more independent. They would be more aware of their actions and time limitations. So that's global usage for mobile phones, and you can actually see that UAE has the highest penetration. It's over about like 12 countries or 20 countries. So it could be a target. It could be the geographic area, as it has about 99% of people use like devices most of the time. So I compared UAE to China, which has a high population density, as you know, and UAE actually has a higher penetration than China, which has a much higher penetration and population. So the geographic location would be UAE because of a variety of factors. One, it has the most highest penetration throughout countries, and that's the latest update. And many people would realize how like that they are exaggerating with their time usage, and would use my product as a guideline to help them to gain more control over their time. The product is mainly for everyone. School students and young people would have access to it by the school. I actually thought at first I thought that students won't download the app because it has to be downloaded on the phone so that they can have access to it. But then I thought that there could be a rewarding system to persuade them to download the app. So a rewarding system could be a partnership with restaurants, and they could gain points and then have an offer on a restaurant, which would convince them to download the app and use it. So I found the venture really interesting because as a student I am facing it anyways, and it's distracting, and I find it slightly annoying. That's the business model canvas. I haven't really thought about it. Yeah, the main customers are people with time limitations issues, schools, and individuals who would like to improve their time control and would like to gain more control over their actions, and they would become more aware of their actions. So the product would be distributed by Google Play and App Stores, and the App Store, they're the main distribution channel. That's a list of competitors. So there's Space. It's an indirect competitor since it does not have a version for schools. Offtime is an indirect competitor as well, although it's less common because it's only based on one geographic and demographic area. The last competitor, FlipD, is actually a direct competitor because it has a version for universities and schools, so it would be a direct competitor. That's the competitive positioning. So Space is more reliable than other competitors. So there are other logos as well for the school version, and that's it. Thank you.
Very well done, Hashim. Can we get one question from the classroom, please?
I'm still a little bit confused with the rewarding system that you talked about earlier. So it's voluntary for the students to download the app, correct?
Yes, it would be mainly voluntary.
So if the student does not download the app, then they would still, for example, they would just keep on doing what they do, like what they usually do, distract the class.
Well, it is a problem that I faced, but I actually asked a couple of students if they would be convinced if they have a rewarding system. They said they would like to have a rewarding system and would persuade them to download an app.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, Hashem, I really love this idea because I actually get very distracted myself, and I actually block myself from receiving calls, even turning on the internet during certain periods of the day. So I think you've touched on something not just in a student population, but in an adult population as well. In fact, casinos routinely have thick walls to block cell reception, have cell phone jammers, etc. I really like the idea of the reward program. It's kind of like, we currently do it now with our kids at home. Hey, if you don't go on the internet, if you don't do this, we'll give you, X amount of time, whatever it could be. So I think partnering with, organizations, whether it's a coffee shop, whether it's, a store of that thing, to reward if they spend minutes offline, is a unique and different approach versus being rewarded by people to play games, right? Where you get more coins and everything. So imagine that there was an app that actually rewards you to stay off your cell phone. So I really like the disruption model that you have with that, and I suggest that you play around with that a little bit more. There certainly is a need for this, and I like your presentation. I like the way you took the research. good use of Hootsuite there. A lot of good information with Tassista. So I think you're onto something, and I think it's actually a need, not a want, especially in the school systems.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, Hashim, no, I think, as I've said to you throughout, first of all, I think your weekly work is impeccable. So congratulations on that. And I think, technically this may take some effort. So, when you start thinking about, how to design this product, you're going to want to take maybe just a piece of what needs to happen and start to build out and test it in maybe your school or something like that. So I think if you do it in a very systematic way, this is going to work great. So we look forward to hearing more about your efforts.
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, Mayan, next. How long is this thing? How many more? All right, so while we're, just so you know, Professor Dan is going to be, because we're hitting 9 o'clock, so Professor Dan is going to go over to another class that we're teaching, and I will be here till we're finished. So
look, I enjoyed working with you these past few weeks, and if you ever have any questions, you can reach us via Canvas. But I love the work that you've done. It's always enjoyable to learn new cultures and understand where you're coming from. So it's rewarding for us as well. So stay in touch, and if you have any questions going forward, please reach out.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, you'll see Dan again, I'm sure. Okay, so
Yeah, Mohammed, you're next. Mohammed Abu Ali. So Leza made you the presenter.
yeah, hopefully. You know where I'll be.
Hi, Dr. Jack. So my business is called Out of Service. It's a clothing line. So it's a one-man team, which is me, and I'll be taking care of most things, such as like the clothing design, the sales, the PowerPoint, the marketing, promoting it, and everything. And I guess one of my skills that I think is useful for this is that I'm social. I'm dealing with people. I'm up to trends. I'm up to the new trends in clothing, and I follow a lot of, I guess, pages on Instagram, on social media that talk a lot about I guess that like the fashion world. So my idea. So I'm a big fan of skateboarding, and I love fashion and music, and I wanted to combine all of it together as. Since like in the past 2 years, all three of those have kind of gotten together, like such as brands like Thrasher or Supreme or Huff, also very small skating brands, and are now seen as a really big, not necessarily designer, but it's really big in fashion. A lot of people will buy even if they don't skate. But a big problem with a lot of those is that, for example, for stores like Babe, Off-White, Supreme, it's very hard to get, and it can be very expensive. For example, a Supreme shirt you can buy for around $50, but you can resell it. If you're gonna buy resale, it's about to $150 to $100. So the prices can go up by 3 or 4 times. So my idea is that I want to start a store that's not too expensive, because I want a lot of people because I want people to be able to afford it, especially students, as they may not always have a high income. Money. So the problem is that, as I've said, is that in Abu Dhabi, there's a big lack of, I guess, streetwear fashion that I've noticed, not just me, but also my friends have said so as well. And I want to focus on opening, first of all, maybe an online store here where I can sell stuff probably off my Instagram or create a website so that I can, I guess, help out the youth of Abu Dhabi, and then hopefully expand it to Dubai and internationally. So my competition, I got a lot of different brands, such as like streetwear brands like Supreme, Bathing Ape, Off-White, skating brands, Thrasher, and maybe today NYC, and really brands like Gap, Zara, Kenzo, Gucci, Balenciaga, because I kind of want it to be like a bit of all. So mine, I put in mine as a bit expensive, just over the, I guess, average, and a bit, and like the availability, I want it to be like high enough so you can go and buy it, but I don't want it to be too available to the point where everyone has that same shirt, because then that just takes the uniqueness off of the name, the brand name. So my target customer, I used a picture, and I used for the whole set us up a bit ago. So I just the name, time, also gender, male. I made it age 19, education and college. I want my customer base to be from the age of, I guess, 13, 14 to 25 and 30. That's what I'm aiming for, and then hopefully it expands throughout the years. And so I put education and college because I feel like a lot of my customers will be in school, maybe high school, college, or like starting like just in college. And so I searched up the average income for our university students is $50,000 a year. And I use the geographic location of New York because it's a big, big city in fashion. But then hopefully I will expand to those places after, I guess, once my business expands as well. So the market mix. So the products, at first I'll be producing small garments like shirts, hoodies, socks, hats, things that are easier to make. Now it's made at a low price. And then I want to move into like skateboards, trucks, and other, or like even like BMXs and other, I guess, kind of like sporty, extreme sports vibe. So for what I'll be using my social medias. So on Instagram, I made my Instagram page, I made it into a business profile, which shows me how many people view my page, how many people click on websites, how many people, I guess, from where like my followers are from, if they're male, female, and I have a pretty equal amount of knowledgeable followers. And I also noticed that if I put a website in my bio, I get around 200 to 300 clicks on the website per week, which I think is a lot. So I was thinking that at first I could make a website using Wix, which will cost about $20 a month for a professional website, which is relatively cheap, I think. And I guess I'll just link it to that from my Instagram bio. So for the price, I'll start with affordable prices as I'm aiming for young customers. And throughout the year, I'll hopefully increase the prices. But then I also want to have, like, I guess, different I guess, factors, different sectors in my company. So for example, like streetwear, skatewear, luxury clothes and all that. And then for place, I'll show you an online shop. And then every year in Dubai, like Omar and Yogi said, there's something called Saudi XD, which is like an exposition. And it focuses a lot on like music, streetwear, and skating. And I guess there's like pop-up shops. They let new small brands that they think are gonna blow up open there, so they can kind of get like a start on their business. Yeah. So the finance, as I said, the website, it's actually, it's $25 a month for an official website. And I searched up for the shipping. It would cost about $2.5 to $6 if it's international for shirts. So I believe that for me might be a bit more expensive, so maybe from $4 to $7. But I guess the shipping price would be included with the price it bought off our website. But I believe that most of my customers would be in Abu Dhabi, as that's where I'm starting off. And most of my customers would be friends and family. So I think that the shipping, I wouldn't have to worry too much about the shipping, as long as I could reach to quickly. So for the production of the shirts, I searched a lot around for this, and I found a couple, or one or two sites. One that I think is the best one to use is called Emirates Apparel. And so I called them up and I got a meeting with them, and I found out that they do mass production. So you can't just order one shirt, you need to order like 50 shirts. And I found out that like if you wanted to order one shirt, you'd get around like $4. So 50 shirts, you'd get around $200, which I think is a fair price, as I want to sell my shirts for around maybe $20, $30 at first, and increase the prices throughout the time. So sales. So at first I would sell around 50 shirts, 50 garments. It could be hats, shirts, socks, wristbands, or whatever. Make around 750 dirham, which is about $200. The second month, it will increase to 100, and I will make 1.5K. Third month to 203K, and fourth month 467K. I know that. So unlike most of my classmates, my prices and my sales are actually going up because unlike them, I'm actually making my prices relatively cheap, and I guess I'm going to focus a lot on customer producer relationships. So what is next? So I want to expand from the hoodies and shirts, and I want to create like shoes, skateboards, kind of like expand my idea, expand my designs. And I want to collaborate with other companies. But I guess that would take most of our companies, maybe with like maybe to the NYC, which is a small online shop in New York, which also have a lot of like trendy and fashionable clothes. And then we'll hopefully in the future become an international company and then open stores around the world. So here's a slogan I made: dress like you're really famous. Because I guess a lot of people look up to famous people and how they dress. A lot of like trendsetters are usually famous, such as Tyler the Creator, Travis Scott, which are both influencers and rappers. Oh yeah, do you have any questions?
Right. Well, first of all, Mohammed, very good job. I don't know if anybody else is applauding, but I'm applauding. So any one question from the class, please?
Yes.
In the beginning, how will you how will you sell your shirts in the beginning? So will it be through Instagram or
So on Instagram, there's this thing where you get a business profile where it shows you that you can promote your post. You can spend around like $1 to $20 depending on how many people you want to see the post. And I guess at first I will, because I can also have a promotion where you can buy the shirt from just with one click. So I guess I'll be using that at first. So I'll spend around like maybe like $3 to $5 a day, $5 a month. I'll get like a couple thousand viewers. So because that could give me sales.
Great. So first of all, I mean, this is I've always liked this, Mohammed. I think it's just a really skateboarding and skating in general, very it's like a subculture, right? And so you have this sort of innate target audience, right? There's gonna be lots of people, and you gotta have people that are into it, and then you got people that sort of want to be into it, right? And so you have these two different segments, right? I don't know which one will actually be better, but I think you have a pretty sizable market because of that. And I've worked with a lot of youth driven ventures before, thousands, and I can tell you that I've seen a lot of companies that started with a T-shirt or just one item, right? It could have been a hat, could have been any. In fact, I have an MBA that's starting with a hat, to be honest with you. So starting with a T-shirt, because as you say, you can get some prototypes made, reasonably, and you can start, testing and testing your channels. It shouldn't take, once you have your design ready, you could be doing this in a few weeks from now, right? So I see it as something really very doable, and I think you should get started as soon as you can. It's great. Okay, so everybody hang in there. We got just 2 to go.
Mohammed Al-Amiri isn't actually here today. He was absent from school. He hasn't told me why he's not here, so I say the girls are the only one left. Okay.
All right, so there's just okay, well, certainly glad to find them at some point and listen to them. Yeah, so we look forward to the last team, Group 2.
All right, so our company is called Freelance Hit, and our slogan is making life easier by connecting you to tomorrow's freelancers. So the team members are myself, Ruditha, and Shama. And the reason that I'm passionate about this project is because I think that there's a real potential and that there's a gap in the market specifically from where we are here in the UAE for a freelancer app that can connect them to their customer base. And I feel like we'd be a good team to put that together.
Yeah, similarly to Kenza, I'm also passionate about this project because it provides me with the opportunity to create a venture that will benefit a lot of people. In addition, it also gives me the skills and knowledge that I will need in the future if I ever want to be an entrepreneur.
And I'm passionate about this project because I'm interested in the future to take part in entrepreneurial work, and this problem is relevant to me and many people I know.
Okay, so why is this venture right for us? I think we already talked about it, but I think that as a team we work quite well. And plus we've all decided that this is something that there really is a space for in the market where we are. And it could really be beneficial to freelancers and customer bases. And we feel like we'd be a good team in putting that together.
Okay, so the problem is that here in the UAE, freelancers find it difficult to promote themselves and their services to customers. Therefore, making it their pain point that they don't have a platform to do this on. And the pain point for the customers would be that they find it hard to find quick, easy, and somewhat cheap services. So the solution to this problem would be that our product in the form of an app will provide a service that connects customers to freelancers and freelancers to customers. And this app will solve the problem by having customers enter the app and select the nearest cheapest or by preference of quality or style of freelancer that they would like to select. So this would provide a solution for the freelancers as it creates an opportunity to promote themselves and also gain customers all on one platform. And then it would create a solution for the customers as it is a fast solution to their problems and if they're looking for services, they can easily find people nearby them.
So these are the results that we got for some of the questions from our survey. We gave the survey to about 27 people, and we found out that the age rate, we put them. These are the results for the surveys that we gave to freelancers, and these are the results that we gave of the surveys that we gave to customers. So for the age, we found out that there are many freelancers that are from the age of 21 to 28 or 17 and younger. So and there aren't that many. There are less that are 18 to 21. We figured this was because most of them were in university and didn't have time. Yeah. And then for the customers, most of the people we asked to complete their survey were around 17 years or younger or 18, but the rest were. It was
an equal spread around the different other age groups.
And then for the type of freelance work and the type of service needed, we found out that the most equal were the subject related, so tutors and pets, so pet sitting, dog walking, as we mentioned in the classes. So these were equal between the freelancers and the customers, so we decided to use those. And also we looked at the areas that people lived in the UAE, in Abu Dhabi, and most of these were in the areas that had a lot of communities.
So what is our product exactly? It's an app that's downloadable for freelancers and customers who are seeking to make a connection between each other. So ideally it would be paying for freelancers so they didn't have to pay to make an account monthly or something along those lines, and free for the customers to download. But when they want to make a service with the freelancers, they'd have to pay the freelancers directly. So our income only comes from the freelancers, and then the customers pay the freelancers directly for their own income. So it would be entirely based on one app, not a website, just an app. And we release it first to freelancers only, just to kind of test the waters and then to see what customers would be interested in. And we already know that there's a good base for customers because we've seen that in our survey results. The initial base will be for tutors seeking to connect with pupils. So we said in classes that we were contemplating what's best to do between tutoring and pet sitting. So we said that we'd start with tutoring and then we go into the next two categories that were the most popular in our survey, i.e. pet care and art/music lessons.
So competitive positioning, we use the factors of whether they're located in the UAE or and whether they have tutors or not. So so the competitors we found were mostly about tutors, and just one of them were actually about freelancers in general, which we thought was a good gap in the market that we could fill. Two of the competitors were actually located in the UAE, and they were only providing tutors, and the one that was providing all freelancers was actually not located in the UAE.
So these are the customer assumptions we made before doing the surveys. So basically, we talked about the problem first, and then we talked about the tasks that the freelancer and the customer are trying to do. And then we also talked about the challenges they're experiencing. And the challenge was that there are no platforms through which to connect the two. And then we rated the problem, and we said that this was a 7 out of 10 because there are already services, but customers find it time consuming, and there's no platform showing all of these freelance jobs.
So from this, we could extract from our survey as well that we were correct about most of the assumptions that we made about our customers, and we can fit that into the app and launch it on the smaller scale and then expand to a larger scale. So then competitive chess, this is something that we did in class, but we thought it would be interesting to mention it in our presentation as well. So we thought that if we release our app, the other competitors which we've previously introduced, if we were to release our own app doing a similar service, they would make their offer slightly better by including more courses. So whether it's tutoring, offering an array of different tutors in different locations, or expanding and doing what we're planning to do, which is different categories such as pet sitting and art/music lessons. And then the price, making their classes or their service cheaper rather than their classes. Customer experience, making their website or app much more user-friendly, much more secure and safe, and improving the quality of their website. And then marketing, advertising theirs much more, so that it kind of gets promoted over ours, which I think you tend to see with a lot of the popular companies that are offering the same things, such as Nike or Adidas. Right. So finance, we had previously discussed how we would plan to finance our app once it's already going. We think that we could fundraise and gather enough funds to launch the initial app. For some reason, the actual statistics have disappeared, but in the version that we've sent to you, you should have the actual numbers. So essentially, we're going to get our profit from the freelancers who buy the app themselves, and then the freelancers will get their own profit from the customers that pay them directly for their service. So then our next steps, So our next steps are to find someone to help us design the actual app, because despite our skills with actually launching the project, we don't have any specific skills that are applicable to computer science. So finding someone to help us design the app, as well as pre-releasing the app to see if there are any crashes or any fixes to be made. Then advertising, marketing, and finally, once we've launched the app, hopefully expanding the categories eventually to other cities in the UAE. So essentially, in the beginning, it would only be for Abu Dhabi, and then it would grow hopefully to Dubai and other Emirates in the UAE. And thank you for listening.
We can't hear you, Dr. Jack.
I was taking notes on what you were saying. So yeah, let's hear. First of all, I said it was great, and I'm looking forward to asking a couple questions. But someone else from the class want to ask a question first?
How do you think of marketing advertising? Would you go to the builders surveys and said that they're interested in offering their freelance service on there, or?
I think that one of the really popular advertising techniques that were discussed by our other classmates was social media. But I think that because ours is more aimed at a different kind of customer base, it's not really selling a product, more of an app. So we would probably advertise it differently through talking to freelancers, and seeing, because there are already like websites, if you're looking for example, music lessons, there are musicteachers.ae, and then speaking to those and saying, if you're interested in also extra advertisement, we're launching this app, would you be interested in advertising your services there? So getting more into a direct contact with the potential freelancers. And then once the app is released, hopefully the freelancers will want to project onto their customer base their own kind of advertisement that will bring more people to our app.
Is your price going to be an annual subscription price, or just a once-off download for the free, or once-off input for the freelancer?
For the customers, it's gonna be free for them to download, but for the freelancers, they're gonna have to pay.
Yeah,
every month. Okay, sorry.
Yeah. So that. Yeah, so that's a very common, revenue model. Though I'm always a big fan of thinking about if there's any way that eventually you can get, a revenue stream going from both sides of the market, right? That there might be some premium features down the road that you can offer the consumer side of it, so it's certainly worth thinking about down the road. So I want to go back to customer segments. I missed a piece of what you said, but I wanted to. So in the end, how are you thinking about where are you going to focus first on the freelance side? What did you say? What did you say about that? You were going to focus on a service. Which one?
Oh, we're going to focus on the tutoring service first, and then expand into pet sitting.
Okay. And tell me a little bit more. What drove you to that decision?
Our survey results were all very partial to the tutoring base, and when we were looking for competitors to list for our presentation, most of them were tutor-based freelancers rather than freelance-based websites. So we thought that this would be a good place to start. Sure. No. Okay. Okay. That was the piece I missed. So now, when you think about tutoring, how are you thinking about? That's also a very wide audience. There's all kinds of tutoring. So where's your focus? Where are you thinking to focus first? Or how are you going to focus the sort of consumer side of this? Well, yeah, marketing, and mostly we break it down to school subjects, so you could split it up between levels. So if you were to go to the British section, the British system, or the American system, obviously it's different classes and different teachers offer different services. So you'd have, for example, teachers who are teaching GCSEs in the British section, which would be like a list of teachers that would not be teaching the American curriculum. So that's how we would split up within the actual tutoring categories.
Mm-hmm. So, all right. So a piece of this is you're going to focus on actual school topics, maybe related to the systems. Is this all high school?
Yeah, mostly higher level teaching.
Yeah, GCSE is the American equivalent of grade 9. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, so that's what I mean. So I want you to be careful because there's a lot. I mean, it's going to take a lot of time to to flesh out all these pieces. So this is why you'll see a lot of these companies where they'll focus on a topic first, and they'll acquire the right tutors for that topic. Because you have to worry about quality. There's a lot of things to think about, right? So that's why you'll see these tutoring businesses, for example, that'll focus only on math and only on a certain aspect of math. And sometimes, you'll see, maybe it'll be writing, or something like that. So the point is you'll have to think about what maybe prioritize which topics most require tutors, and in conjunction, where are the tutors most available for that, which topics, and then create a sort of a priority path to launch your venture, right? I mean, as I said, you don't need the technology to do this right away, right? You can just start to match the right people to the right tutors, but I think you have to have that. You have to find the tutors, and then you have to sort of market the topic, right? And I think if you try to do all the topics at once, it's going to get. I've never seen anybody try to do all the topics at once. It's very difficult.
So would you recommend doing another survey and then seeing which subjects are the most popular, like either starting with maths, English, and sciences, and then launching that, and then expanding on more different topics?
Yeah, I mean, a survey might help, but because obviously in your case, well, in the tutoring case, you're not going to charge. You're going to charge a fee to the tutors, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So they're the paying customer. So I think tutors and more importantly, maybe even getting some advice from teachers in the schools to find out which topics do the students need the most help. It's going to track well, right? I mean, if all the everybody says that students always have a hard time with physics, for example, or a lot of students have trouble with physics, which I would understand. Yeah, then maybe physics and as I said, maybe like you said, maybe it's the sciences and the math, or maybe it's specific sciences and specific math. But the things that you can learn from teachers and from tutors where the big problems are and start there. And the students will follow, because if everybody's telling you the students are having problems, the students will know they're having problems, and the parents will know that the students are having problems. So and the counselors will know. So I think no matter how you look at it, I don't know if you don't think you have to talk to. I would start with really trying to prioritize the subjects through the experts, basically, and then test it with the consumers, as long as you have the tutors on board as well. I think that'd be a faster route. Okay. Anyway, this is you guys did a great job. Really, really nice presentation. So congratulations.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so I know we ran late, and but certainly I want to thank first of all, thank you for staying on, and it's been an amazing pleasure to work with all of you in the classroom, as well as Mariam and Hashim. So we'll certainly want to stay in touch with you guys. We look forward to I'm hoping many of you will continue to work on your projects in some fashion, and we will certainly always be available to.
Awesome. So I'll just be able to share your wonderful successes with some other people as well. I'm sure that makes it they're doing this to me right now because they don't want me to share it with anybody else. Thank you, Dr. Jack. We've really gained a lot from the course, and I know certainly for me in my business lessons as well, I can see what they've learned from the course kind of shining through as well, because there's some students who are taking it and some who are not. So thank you for that, and we look forward to seeing where it goes next.
Yeah, well, we hope to see you in the next class as well. So. Great. All right, so bye. Have a good evening, or wherever we are today, and we'll talk to you soon, I'm sure.
Super. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mayank.
Yep. Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right, Mayank,